Hello and welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. I'm Kenneth Ameduri, and I'm joined today with a brand new guest. We're going to be touching cryptocurrencies today and mining. Maybe we'll get into some of the crypto economics of the sector and why a lot of people are in it to win it and believe in the long term, because again, it's that crypto economics that is the fundamentals for why this technology has taken off in the first place and has come to the limelight of the mainstream media with Bitcoin going to $20,000. So I have Jared the Miner on the line. He's with Digital Gold. His website is digi.io. We'll have the links in the description area. He's got a popular YouTube channel. Jared, thanks for coming on Crush the Street with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Kenneth.
Well, you're an authority in the cryptocurrency space and someone who's been actively educating people. You mine cryptocurrency. And by way of getting to know you, what are your current thoughts of the cryptocurrency market right now?
Yes, great question. I am very concerned with the market in the sense that the adoption rate at what I thought it would do did not rebound the way as quickly as I thought it would. We've seen historical trends where it's fallen from, like you said, the 20,000 got cut in half or even lower, and then it's bounced itself back up. But it has been really low for quite some time. So I'm interested to see where the next wave of mainstream comes about and what brings it to back up to that 20 and way past it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and I certainly understand that, because as a measuring stick, we're using US dollars or Canadian dollars for the most part, Western people that live in, first world countries here. But unfortunately, there's some people that live in countries with not so much fortune in terms of the banking system and the governments. And I guess what I'm saying is the volatility of Bitcoin going from $8,000 to $5,000 for someone who lives in Venezuela isn't as much of a risk as holding bolivars. Like that's,
Correct.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of an interesting thing. Like we're fortunate to have some sort of stability here. But then there's other people who are just dying to get their hands on crypto, literally.
Right, and especially in the race to the 20,000, that was also part of other countries adopting this as part of their currency and their little tribes, even in like Africa, using their cell phones and exchanging it back and forth. And I've read how other companies were trying to capitalize on things like that. And that is where people are putting the little they have into this and then getting it cut in half. Whatever it's from, whales, miners, whoever, it's still it's terrible for those people because they're affected percentage-wise a whole lot more than we are.
Right. Well, let's talk about the crypto economics of this. And the reason Bitcoin came about, it was birthed out of the crisis of the 2008 mess, and it's a sidestep of the conventional Federal Reserve System, where these central bankers print money into existence and, they get money back with interest. And it's just this Ponzi scheme and this new way to store value that's decentralized. No one controls it. It's such a powerful thing here. And I'm wondering, a lot of people think Bitcoin might go away, like Peter Schiff or I can name a few other people here, but what are your thoughts long term on this and how things might look going forward?
Yeah, the only time I ever felt like that, and it was probably only for a few hours, was this thing called the cashioning, and it was when Bitcoin Cash was really getting a pump going, and a lot of Bitcoin, millions of dollars was being dumped in from Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash, and just the whole system behind Bitcoin Cash and the corporations that started it and the miners that switched all their ASICs to it and things like that, there was this bad feeling about it. And that was about the only time, because it was a true fork of the tried and true Bitcoin that we knew. And now you look at it and it didn't withstand the fall. And no real currency has withstood the fall yet. I'm waiting for the day where Bitcoin can crash and another currency stands in its place for a long time that people can use, or even a consistent price that we can always go back to. We always go back to our local currency wherever you are in the world. Well, why can't we do that in crypto somehow? Why don't we have a coin that we can always fall back on, and it's not manipulated by the markets of the millions of billions? I mean, we had a $800 billion market cap back in December, and now we're what, at 300 maybe? So to answer the question, I don't think Bitcoin is going to be going away. I only felt like that for a couple hours, but I can see how people would want it to go away. But it's still being developed. It's still being added. I mean, the Lightning Network was just adopted to it. So there's still billions of dollars backing just in hardware. If you think of mining equipment alone, holding the Bitcoin network alive, and all the other currencies seem to follow it.
Yeah, it definitely has that first mover advantage, and I don't think people value that role as much as they should. And just, what luck was it that there's no founder in Bitcoin, and it's the simplest. And I mean, all of these things which have their negatives, as people would argue, also play into, what makes Bitcoin so special when it comes to wealth storage and money.
Correct. You're right, because a lot of these coins are adding all these extra things, and you're trying to say, okay, well, first you got to educate somebody on what a cryptocurrency is, and you use that typically through Bitcoin, and then you try to educate them, oh, by the way, there's other currencies, there's like thousands of them, and then you got to educate them on those currencies inside those currencies called tokens. And so by that time, you're three layers deep with this person, and they don't even remember what the first thing you said about Bitcoin was. So the education alone is very confusing. You're right. The simplicity of Bitcoin, right, is just beautiful, and I hope it can stay that way.
Yeah, no, that is a really cool thing. Okay, so I'd like to ask you about mining. What is the dynamic of that at the moment? Are you seeing this as something very profitable? To give us some of the background, and we don't really talk to people who are mining and giving us an update on what this is like.
Sure, terrific. Mining is just validating the transactions in the network that's flowing through the system, and my job is to facilitate other current miners that are either hobbyists or very excited to get started into mining, or just want to make a way of passive income by validating the blocks on the network as well with me. So I facilitate these miners here in the facility and make sure that they stay online. Now, in the beginning, back in 2013, it was very profitable. Mt. Gox got hacked. As anybody knows Bitcoin history, it tanked down from $1,000 to $200 for a coin. So mining, of course, is not very profitable then. 2015, fast forward, Ethereum comes out. It's very profitable again. $1 Ethereum coin, you're gaining 5 to 10 coins every 24 hours. You're sitting on $10, $20 every few hours. You're like, this is great. I love this. And you're not doing anything. You're just letting your computer run those algorithms. You fast forward till today, and during the big hype of December, there was, of course, mining very profitable. We're selling a lot of machines. People are very excited about this. They're gaining passive income. And then there's this lull between January and now, and it has continued to be very bad. I mean, the profit margins on some of these coins are very low, and we mainly specialize in GPU mining, graphics cards that you'd put in a gaming machine. And only until last week have we seen a turnaround where you could start seeing those $100 a day gains in passive income from mining. So it has been a roller coaster over the years, but in the long run, it has done nothing but 10 to 100 or 1,000 times X people's investments. So
Jared,
it really is a long game.
Yeah, Jared, let me ask you about that. And again, going back to crypto economics, isn't it supposed to be that miners should be profitable? I mean, won't the price versus how many people are mining just adjust to that so it would be profitable? What is what's the dynamic of the crypto economics behind this?
No, it won't adjust itself to be from a Bitcoin standpoint, yes. From a alternate currency standpoint, no. So to be in the Bitcoin side, you probably have to have a couple $1 million investment into ASICs, and you'd have to be bringing in a decent amount of coin to be at that level of what you're talking about, where the price will coordinate itself with how much you're mining, and it doesn't matter. You'll always make a profit. When you get into these other alternate currencies, these drastic moves of Bitcoin can cause 10 times more drastic moves on the other sides of these alternate currencies. So you're seeing where people will build a rig, get all excited, they'll start mining, and then a month later, they'll go from making $30, $40 a day down to like 10. And it's barely profitable at that point. I mean, you still got to pay your electric. You're probably going to have to cool this somehow. You got an internet bill, things like that. So it's not the same system with the alt currencies as it is with the Bitcoin. But the Bitcoin is so large scale at this point, you can't mine. The average person can't mine Bitcoin. It's just not reasonable.
So I kind of got a good and bad thing from you there when it comes to Bitcoin. Number one, it seems like the crypto economics work for Bitcoin. You know, whatever the price is, it adjusts, and
correct.
It kind of. But at the same time, if only the big money can do it, does that imply centralization in Bitcoin?
I would say no, because the main way to get to all these other currencies, aside from mining it, is to go in and out of Bitcoin. So when you see Bitcoin going up and all the altcoins follow it, all this money being poured into these altcoins isn't just coming from cash to Monero. It's coming from cash to Bitcoin to Monero. So it's almost like a transfer system. So as much centralization as you can have on a network, you're still using this network to be the gold standard for all of the other currencies below it. Right. So I don't think it can be centralized that way unless they somehow cut off, not moving money through Bitcoin, and only the miners and developers move the currency around with transactions validated, and no other alt currency flows through it. So, and you're never going to see that. So in that way, it provides some security. The more centralization I'm afraid of is probably the whales or some of these larger companies that are just outrageous because of the wealth that they've gained in Bitcoin, that they can somehow centralize or manipulate markets in that way. That would be the more scary side to me.
Right. Jared, so going back to Bitcoin, I'd like to ask you about Bitcoin as the gold standard, a wealth storage vehicle. Now, we've all said this. I don't know if you've said this, but I'm almost going to guess you have. Is you don't invest more money than you're willing to lose in the Bitcoin space. But that's also kind of a dichotomy of Bitcoin being a storage of wealth vehicle. Like, you want to be able to put more money than you're willing to lose in something that's purpose is to store your wealth. So I'm wondering, is Bitcoin, with the volatility, is it getting to a place where people will be able to trust it fully as a place to store their wealth?
No, I really don't think so. I think we're going to have to see a different currency. Bitcoin is a long game play. It's definitely something that you want to be invested in, but with the volatility and the forking and everything, it's very much a growing pain stage, and I can't say that you should do that. I think in the long run, it can benefit you with the forks, because the forks do benefit everyone, right? They get the same amount of coin that they had in Bitcoin, but I mean, people get too scared when it drops. I've seen probably more people lose money than gain money because they get all hyped up about it. They get into it, and then it tanks and they pull out instead of just staying with it for the long haul. So unless you could convince society to stay with the currency, we've got to find a different way to have a more stable system.
Yeah,
It's
one of
too
the things
volatile.
I've told people, and I mentioned here on the show plenty of times, is markets know how to wash and rinse people. It's easy to
Right.
look at the Bitcoin chart and say, "Wow, look how easy, quote unquote, it would have been to make money." But with just the ups and downs of Bitcoin, or maybe only investing a very small amount, and then getting some confidence in Bitcoin as it went higher, to dump it all in, go all in at 20,000 for it to, get cut in half. Markets just have a way of, like I said, washing and rinsing people. And, you need some fortitude, and you need to be cautious when investing in markets, especially ones that are moving extremely fast.
Right. I did think it was interesting that the when Bitcoin was very high is when we were selling majority of our rigs, and I was realizing that a lot of these guys, in my opinion, I don't know, but my thought is these guys are old guys with old money in Bitcoin, and they saw the price get very high. They didn't think it was necessarily sustainable, and they wanted to alleviate some of their cash flow into a physical asset that could then generate them currency on a more steadily basis, aside from the markets swaying up and down so much so. So then we saw them buying multiple, tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment in order to kind of alleviate their portfolio or diversify it in almost a hardware over coin wallet holding way. It's very interesting how that worked.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, you were kind of skeptical as to Bitcoin's longevity, and I'm wondering what are you excited about? Where are you putting your money, or what are you speculating in at the moment?
Yes, I mean, I absolutely believe, in my opinion, that Bitcoin will be there forever as the long term. It's just hard to try to tell anybody who hasn't been in it for the years past and gone through the ups and downs and lost half of their money and then gained it back and lost it again, that it's a worthwhile investment. This is the growing pain stage, and so personally, I believe it's the long term. That's where my money's at. It's going to go into the future, and it's going to be so outrageously hard to get, and nobody's going to want to be able to sell it to you. It's going to be too high. It's just not going to be something that people are interested in getting, because it's going to be such a early adopters type mentality coin. But for the people who are just now getting into this type of cryptocurrency and things like that, I would say do the research on things that you enjoy with the tech field and find the currencies and have a good development team and you want to support almost, because these guys are basically like the Kickstarters of the cryptocurrency ecosystem, and they're just trying to design a new way and a new platform upon this confusing algorithm currency that everyone is still trying to learn. Nobody in the crypto space should ever say that they understand it, because every day it's always changing, because you have the world developing on it. It's not like the internet, where the internet is all centralized through a form of various servers and databases. This is anything you can create, physical or software wise. You have the way to manipulate it in a way that benefits the entire society as a whole. When you're just using the transmission feed of the fiber through the internet to back that system that you've created or thought of. So that, in my opinion, if you find a alternate currency of development team, that's where you're going to see some great gains. Hold a little bit in the Bitcoin, like you said. Don't hold more than you're going to lose, and be prepared for the big drops. But those development teams, you're starting to develop into people and their ideas instead of just a currency to try to get rich.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. If you invested in cryptocurrency early enough, or some of the ones that have been around that have 10x or more, depending on when you got in. You could have got into Bitcoin at $1, right, and be up a crazy amount of money still. But for the most part, people who are up 10x or more, nobody's complaining about volatility, right?
Right.
Volatility is a problem for something being a storage of wealth, looking forward right now. And that's the big question, and I think that's what everyone's trying to wrap their mind around. And tread carefully, because, as you said, the future is uncertain, but we're believers here in the long term, and especially when you combine the macroeconomics of just the debt scenario and the banking situations. I think alternative storages of value are going to be where people head. So, Jared, if people want to learn more about you, please let them know where they can go, what they'll find, and please share some closing words of advice for everybody.
Absolutely. You can find me on YouTube under Digital Gold. I'm the goofy guy wearing a space costume here and there. Otherwise, my website is digie.io, and there I just provide a way for you guys to be on the other hardware side, creating virtual currencies yourself every day, and you keep 100% of the profits. I just make sure that it stays online for you. So closing thoughts is do your research. You can never do enough research, and use your gut in this world for this crypto, because it is crazy, and I do not want to see anybody or give anybody false advice that they should go invest in X coin, that it's going to 10 times their money, because you can lose your money. So I don't know how to say the 10 lose, but whatever you say to say that.
Yeah, no, I know. One of the things we always point out is, $600 Bitcoin was 10x more attractive than $6,000 Bitcoin, but yet people seem to be more attractive to $6,000 Bitcoin than they were $600 Bitcoin.
Right.
But that's the nature of the markets, man. Hey, Jared, thanks for coming on Crush the Street.
Thank you, Kenneth, for having me. See you again.